Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to today's video. Now that we have finished the human campaign, I thought that I could share some tips and tricks. So if you're new to the game or struggling, then stay tuned, because these are my top 10 essential tips to help you through the human campaign hard difficulty. Tip number 1. Control groups. Control groups are the first steps in your journey to micromanaging your units. You assign control groups by selecting the units you want, hitting Control plus the number key. This will help you save time while building up your base or have a better control over your army during fights. A good way to start using control groups is having your army split into 3 basic groups: melee, ranged, and casters, to better structure your fights. I also like to have about 3 workers on number 5 and use 4 as a quick alternative, either if I acquire units somewhere else or when I want to have a few production buildings ready to bring me more units. Tip number 2. Building enough peasants. On a typical map, the game gives you 5 peasants on gold and 2 on lumber. That's a good starting point, but you'll definitely need more to sustain a strong economy. I recommend aiming for 10 peasants on lumber and 5 on gold to ensure resource stability. This setup guarantees you never have to build peasants of gold and lets you assign idle builders to gather lumber during downtime. It also prepares you to expand quickly to new gold mines without slowing down your production. Tip number 3. Efficient resource management. Balancing your resources is key. Having too much gold often means your army or upgrades aren't keeping up with the enemy, leaving you wide open to attacks. On the other hand, using up all your resources too quickly or inefficiently can leave you exposed during critical moments. Try to find a balance in when do you build what and when to upgrade. Keep enough resources in reserve for emergencies while spending wisely to maintain pressure on your opponent. Effective resource management is all about timing and planning ahead. Tip number 4. Focus fire. Focus fire is one of the most efficient ways to eliminate high value targets quickly in battles. The key targets you want to focus fire down first are usually enemy heroes, casters, or siege units. Don't hesitate to use heavy spells or ultimates to speed up the attack. You want to deny the opponent as much value as possible from their strongest units. Tip number 5. Upgrades. Upgrades make or break the battle, but knowing when it's the right time to get them is crucial. You should consider starting to get upgrades when you have a steady flow of resources and a main flock of units. Best time to get your last upgrades right before you launch your final attack on the final objective. You should also prioritize your units based on your final unit composition. Also, consider upgrading specific abilities or unit enhancements that match your strategy, such as master training for casters or animal war training for knights and griffins. Tip number 6. Hero is your powerhouse. Heroes are the backbone of your army, offering powerful abilities, unmatched utility, and the potential to carry battles with their mere presence. They can fill a variety of roles as tanks, healers, or high damage dealers, making them invaluable in any mission. Keeping them alive as long as possible is crucial to maximizing their value. Proper hero management often decides the outcome of both battles and larger missions. Always adapt your hero's abilities and items to fit the challenges ahead, and never underestimate their impact on the battlefield. Tip number 7. Building and using towers. Towers are a great defensive tool and provide a huge advantage, especially in the campaign. They help secure your base, protect expansions, funnel enemies into favorable engagements. When deciding what towers to build, consider the danger. Guard towers are excellent for dealing with smaller units and focus firing high value targets, while cannon towers are great for handling stronger and clustered up enemies. It's good to have a mix of towers spread out to cover key areas like choke points and resource areas. Don't rely solely on towers, but use them to buy time, weaken enemy forces, and support your main army. A well-placed defense turns the tide of any battle. After all, even the strongest army is no good if you have no base to fall back to. Tip number 8. Understanding enemy attack patterns. Knowing how the enemy AI attacks can give you a significant edge in the campaign missions. Enemies often follow predictable patterns, and recognizing these can help you position your units and defensive effectively. For example, in the Defense of Strongbarn mission, you face attacks from the green and purple bases early on, with the potential reinforcements from the orange base if you skip the bonus objective. By understanding these attack routes, you can focus your defenses where they need it the most and prepare for the waves ahead of time. Pay attention to attack timings, compositions, and routes to create a defensive setup that counters their patterns. This foresight makes holding your ground and progressing through the campaign much easier. Tip number 9. Use terrain to your advantage. Terrain can be a powerful tool in battle if used strategically. Fighting from higher ground gives you an edge, as enemies attacking uphill suffer from a mischance. Positioning your army in hills or cliffs can make it harder for the enemy to land consistent hits. Additionally, build towers and choke points or behind walls, slow enemy advances, and funnel them into kill zones. This setup forces the enemy to fight on your terms, making it easier to defend and counter their attacks. Tip number 10. Adapt and find your own path. No strategy is perfect, and in Warcraft 3, there is no single way to win. Every game, mission, and battle is different, so learn to adapt to changing situations. Build counters to enemy units, upgrade armor and weapons, and be ready to switch strategies mid-game if needed. Flexibility and creativity are your greatest tools. Experiment, take risks, and discover what works best for you. Whether it's through overwhelming forces, clever defenses, or hit-and-run tactics, there's always a way to win if you stay adaptable and open-minded. And that wraps up our top 10 essential tips for Warcraft 3. If you found these tips helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more gaming content. Drop your own tips in the comments below, and let's keep improving together. Stick around for the next video, where we'll dive into one of my personal favorites, Path of the Damned, the Undead campaign. And as always, thanks so much for watching.